The massive chamber of the Galactic Council stretched out like a vast metal dome under the artificial stars of Nexus Prime. Floating pods filled with alien representatives created perfect circles around the center stage, where Ambassador Park Ji-woo stood alone. Her dark suit looked plain against the colorful forms of 847 different species that surrounded her. Park Ji-woo had served as Earth's voice for 23 years. Her black hair now showed silver streaks, and her hands had the steady grip of someone who had faced difficult choices before. Today would be the most difficult of all. The Zephyrian Chancellor rose from his crystal pod, his body made of what looked like living glass that changed colors with his emotions. Right now, those colors were deep red and orange, anger and disgust. His voice came through the translation devices, as cold as winter wind. Human Ambassador, you stand before this council for the final time. Your species has ignored our warnings for too long. You build weapons when we ask for peace. You claim territories that should belong to all. You refuse to share your technology with other species. Worst of all, you spread dangerous ideas about individual freedom to races that were happy before they met you. Park Ji-woo listened without changing her expression. She had heard these same words many times before. Around her, other alien representatives made sounds of agreement. The Velkori delegate waved his long tentacles in what their species considered claws. The insect-like Crothery clicked their mandibles in rhythm. The decision is made, continued the Chancellor. Humanity must surrender all military ships to Council control. Your colonies will be placed under protection of more mature species. Your people will be relocated to supervised worlds where they can learn proper behavior from their betters. A low rumble filled the chamber as hundreds of aliens voiced their approval. The hegemony representative, a massive creature that looked like a walking tree, spoke next. We have been patient with the humans for 127 years. We welcomed them when they were primitive. We taught them to travel between stars. We gave them membership in our great alliance. This is how they repay our kindness, with violence and stubbornness. Park Ji-woo stepped forward to the speaking platform. Her voice was quiet but clear as it carried through the translation system to every being in the chamber. Honor representatives, I have listened to your words. I have brought them back to my people on Earth and our colonies. We have discussed your concerns in our assemblies and councils. We have tried to find ways to work together despite our differences. She paused and looked around the vast chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as she could. But we have reached a conclusion. We cannot accept your terms. We will not surrender our right to defend ourselves. We will not place our people under control of others. We will not abandon the principles that make us who we are. The Chancellor's crystal body flashed bright yellow, surprise mixed with anger. You dare refuse the wisdom of the Council? You would choose conflict over cooperation. We choose freedom, Park Ji-woo replied simply. Therefore, the United Terran Federation formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We thank you for 127 years of cooperation, and we wish you well in your future endeavors. The chamber fell silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then chaos erupted. Alien voices rose in what sounded like celebration to human ears. The Nexary Prime Minister's mechanical translator crackled with static as announced, "Excellent news! The violent primates finally leave us in peace. Let us see how long they survive without the protection of civilized species." The massive Gorlan ambassador's deep voice boomed through the chamber. "Good riddance to the warmongers. Now we can redistribute their rich worlds to species that deserve them." The Zephyrian Chancellor's colors shifted to bright blue, the color of satisfaction. The galaxy will be safer without human interference. Their aggressive nature was corrupting younger species with dangerous thoughts of independence. Park Ji-woo gathered her papers and walked toward the exit. Behind her, the aliens were already beginning to discuss how to divide up human territories and resources. They talked about which species would claim which systems, which trade routes would be reopened, and which technologies they might be able to reverse engineer from abandoned human equipment. As she reached the tall doors that led out of the chamber, Park Ji-woo heard the Velkori delegate speaking to his neighbors. The humans were always strange. They insisted that every individual had rights, even children and the weak. They refuse to accept that some species are naturally meant to lead, while others should follow. Perhaps now the younger races will stop asking uncomfortable questions about freedom and independence. Park Ji-woo pushed through the doors and stepped into the corridor outside. The sounds of alien celebration grew muffled behind her. She walked slowly toward the docking bay where her shuttle waited, her footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. She pressed a small device on her wrist and spoke quietly. "It's done. Tell President Kim that Operation Exodus is approved for immediate implementation." The response came back instantly. "Understood, Ambassador." How did they take it? Park Ji-woo almost smiled as she entered her shuttle. "Exactly as we expected. They think they've won." 6 months after humanity left the Galactic Council, the galaxy felt lighter. At least that was what Chancellor Vextar told himself as he floated in his crystal chamber, watching the weekly reports flow across his display screens. Trade ships moved freely through routes that human patrol fleets once monitored. The red zones on star charts disappeared as military restrictions lifted. Everything seemed perfect. "The human problem has solved itself," he announced at the council assembly. His crystal body pulsed with satisfied blue light. "Commerce flows freely. Our member species expand into previously restricted territories. The galaxy prospers without their interference." The hegemony had already claimed 3 of the richest human systems in the Kepler sector. Their massive mining ships stripped asteroids that humans had marked and protected wildlife habitats. The Zephyrians took control of the strategic jump points that connected the outer rim to core worlds. Even smaller species grabbed pieces of what humans left behind. On the ocean world of Aquatica, the Velcori delegate Threnoke wrapped his tentacles around a data pad as he reviewed the prophet reports. The fishing grounds the humans protected for breeding seasons are now open year-round. Our harvest ships collect 3 times more protein than before. But Threnoke noticed something odd in the shipping reports. Several cargo vessels had gone missing near the outer rim. The captain sent no distress signals. The ships simply vanished from tracking systems. When he brought this to the attention of his superiors, they dismissed his concerns. "Probably equipment failures," his commander replied. "The humans always exaggerated the dangers in those sectors to keep us away from their territory." Captain Zarkex of the Crothry Security Force discovered the first sign of real trouble when he responded to a distress call from a mining station on Kepler 7. He arrived to find the massive facility completely stripped of valuable metals and equipment. The miners floated in escape pods, badly shaken but alive. "Who attacked you?" Zarkex asked through his translator. "Pirates," the station chief replied, "but not like any we've seen before. They had military-grade weapons and knew exactly where to hit us. They disabled our defenses in minutes." Zarkex studied the damage patterns on his scanner. The attack had been precise and professional. "Did you send for help during the attack?" "Of course. We transmitted emergency signals on all council frequencies. No one responded for 6 hours. That was impossible. Council regulations required security forces to respond to distress calls within 2 hours maximum. Zarkex checked his own records and found the uncomfortable truth. The nearest council patrol ship had been 12 hours away when the attack happened. In the old days, a human cruiser would have been in the area within minutes. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Kim Tae-ho stood before the massive construction sites that now covered 3 continents. Enormous metal structures rose from the ground like technological mountains. Workers in environmental suits moved like ants across the surfaces, welding and building something that had never existed before. "How long until first phase is complete?" he asked his chief engineer. "Another 8 months, sir. The portal generators are the most complex part, but our teams on Luna and Mars report similar progress." Kim Tae-ho nodded as he watched a massive component being lifted into place by anti-gravity cranes. The aliens thought humanity would struggle without council protection. They had no idea what humans were actually building. Captain Lee Soo-jin received her orders while patrolling the edge of former human space aboard the cruiser Endeavour. The message was brief and came directly from Fleet Command. "Maintain observation positions. Record all council activities in previously human sectors. Engage only in direct defense of human civilian lives." Do not reveal yourselves to alien forces. She read the orders twice, trying to understand their meaning. Why would they need to defend human civilians when all humans had supposedly left these sectors? And why the secrecy? Her questions were answered when her sensors detected a small transport ship under attack by 3 pirate vessels. The ship's identification codes showed it was carrying human refugees, families who had missed the official evacuation schedules and were trying to reach the rally points on their own. All hands to battle stations, Lee Soo-jin commanded. Prepare for immediate combat. The Endeavour dropped out of stealth mode and opened fire on the pirate ships. The attackers were completely surprised. They had never seen human military technology used at full capacity. Within minutes, 2 pirate ships were destroyed and the 3rd fled in panic. Lee Soo-jin opened communications with the refugee transport. This is Captain Lee of the Terran Fleet. Are you damaged? Minor hull breaches only, came the grateful reply. Thank you for the rescue. We thought all the military ships had left. Not all, Lee Soo-jin said quietly. Follow the coordinates I'm sending you. You'll find safe passage from there. As the refugee ship jumped to hyperspace, Lee Soo-jin realized what her orders really meant. Humanity wasn't abandoning their people. They were just being more careful about who they helped and when they revealed themselves. 3 systems away, the Gorlan Trade Minister reviewed reports of increasing pirate activity. 17 merchant vessels had been attacked in the past month. Response times from Council security forces averaged 8 hours. Insurance companies were raising their rates. Perhaps we acted too quickly, he admitted to his aide. The humans were aggressive, but they kept the shipping lane safe. His aide, young and idealistic, shook her massive head. We are better off without their interference. We just need time to adjust to our new freedom. The trade minister looked at the damage reports piling up on his desk and wondered if freedom was worth the cost they were beginning to pay. 2 years had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council, and Commander Yoon Da-hai was beginning to understand that something was very wrong with the galaxy. She stood on the bridge of the Council investigation ship Unity, staring at her 4th abandoned human colony in as many weeks. New Sejong had been home to 50,000 humans just 6 months ago. Now the settlement looked like a perfectly preserved museum. Every building stood intact. Power systems hummed quietly. Street lights turned on and off according to their programming. But not a single human remained. It makes no sense, her Zephyrian science officer reported, his crystal body flickering with confused purple light. The humans left everything behind. Food and storage, personal belongings and homes, even family photos on tables. But there are no signs of struggle or emergency evacuation. Yoon Da-hai walked through the empty streets with her team. Children's toys lay scattered in playgrounds, as if kids had been called inside for dinner and never returned. In the school, homework assignments sat half-finished on desks. The local hospital had patients' files dated just days before the colony went silent. Check the spaceport again, she ordered her team. Any sign of where they went? Her aide, a young Valkyrie named Prentau, waved his tentacles nervously. The launch logs show normal daily traffic right up until last week. Then nothing. No mass exodus, no emergency launches. The humans just stopped coming and going. At the colony's communication center, they found a message repeating on all frequencies. The hologram of an elderly human woman appeared every 10 minutes with the same words. We told you we were leaving. We meant all of us. This facility will remain operational for emergency use by any species requiring assistance. Yoon Da-hai had heard similar messages at the other abandoned colonies. Always polite, always helpful, always completely unhelpful in explaining where billions of humans had gone. But the empty colonies were not the worst problem facing the galaxy. 3 weeks ago, deep space monitoring stations had detected something that made even veteran council scientists nervous. Ancient signals were coming from the outer spiral, areas of space that had been dead for thousands of years. Dr. Kefvar, the council's chief archaeologist, studied the data with growing alarm. His insect-like body trembled as he explained the emergency session. The The signal patterns match historical records of the Devourers, the ancient machine race that consumed entire sectors before mysteriously disappearing 3 millennia ago. The Zephyrian Chancellor's crystal form flashed urgent red. Impossible. The Devourers were destroyed by the First Alliance. Every school child learns this history. The historical records may be incorrect, Dr. Kethvar replied carefully. Our new analysis suggests the Devourers were not destroyed, but merely dormant. Within days, the truth became terrifyingly clear. A fleet of massive black ships emerged from the dead systems of the outer spiral. Each vessel was the size of a small moon, covered in mechanical tendrils that could break apart asteroids and rebuild the material into new ships. The Devourers had awakened. The first system they attacked was the mining colony on Vega 7. The Council received a distress signal and immediately dispatched their finest fleet, 12 hegemony dreadnoughts under the command of Admiral Grandal. We are the apex military force in the galaxy, Grandal announced confidently to his crew. These ancient machines cannot stand against modern weapons and tactics. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. The Devourer ships absorbed the energy from the dreadnoughts' main guns and used it to power their own weapons. When the Council ships fired missiles, the Devourers caught them with mechanical tendrils, dissolved them, and rebuilt the material into attack drones. Within an hour, all 12 dreadnoughts had been consumed and converted into enemy vessels. Grandal managed to escape in a damaged shuttle, but his report to the Council was devastating. They adapt to everything we throw at them. Our weapons make them stronger. Our ships become their ships. We need a completely different approach. The Zephyrian Chancellor called an emergency meeting of all member species. Representatives who had celebrated humanity's departure now faced a threat they did not understand and could not fight. Perhaps we should contact the humans, suggested the Velcori delegate Threnoke. They have experience with ancient threats. Absolutely not, snapped the hegemony representative. We will not crawl back to the violent primates asking for help. We are civilized beings. We can solve this through cooperation and advanced technology. But technology seemed useless against an enemy that could turn any weapon into a tool of destruction. The second Devourer fleet appeared near the trade world of Commerce Prime, home to 8 billion beings from dozens of species. The planet's defense force lasted 43 minutes before being completely absorbed. Commander Yoon Dahai watched the evacuation reports flood in from Commerce Prime. Refugee ships fled in all directions, carrying survivors to any world that would accept them. The lucky ones made it to Council space. The unlucky ones were caught by Devourer scouts and added to the growing machine fleet. We need to find the humans, she told her crew as they watched another world fall to the ancient machines. Whatever they did to keep the Devourers asleep for 3,000 years, we need to know. Her Zephyrian science officer's colors shifted to worried orange. But, Commander, we don't even know where humanity went. They vanished completely. Yoon Dahai studied the star charts, showing Devourer fleet movements. The machines were spreading faster than anyone had predicted, consuming everything in their path. Soon they would reach the core worlds where trillions of beings lived in peaceful ignorance of the approaching threat. Then we better find them quickly, she said quietly, because I don't think we can survive this alone. Commander Yoon Dahai thought she was dreaming when the impossible ships appeared on her sensors. The Devourer fleet was attacking the civilian transport convoy near Epsilon Station, their massive black vessels tearing apart refugee ships with mechanical tentacles. Council rescue ships fled in panic, unable to fight back against enemies that turned every weapon against them. Then the humans arrived. 3 sleek ships dropped out of hyperspace between the Devourers and the fleeing civilians. They were unlike any human vessels Yoon Dahai had seen before, smooth and silver, with no visible weapons or engines. They moved like living things, flowing through space instead of flying. Unknown vessels. Identify yourselves, she transmitted on all frequencies. This is Commander Yoon Dahai of the Council Investigation Fleet. The response came in perfect Korean. Commander, this is Captain Han Boire of the Terran Commonwealth Navy. Please evacuate all civilian ships to minimum safe distance immediately. Before Yoon Dahai could respond, the human ships opened fire. But these were not the plasma cannons or missile systems she remembered from old human military vessels. Beams of pure white light struck the Devourer's ships and simply erased sections of their hulls. The ancient machines tried to adapt, extending their mechanical tendrils to absorb the energy, but the weapons seemed to exist on a different level of physics entirely. In less than 10 minutes, for Devourer ships the size of cities were reduced to floating debris. The human vessels collected the survivors from damaged refugee ships using some kind of teleportation technology, then vanished back into hyperspace without another word. "Did you record that?" Yoon Dahai asked her science officer, still staring at the empty space where the battle had occurred. "Yes, Commander, but I don't understand the readings." The human weapons operated on principles our science cannot explain. Word of the mysterious rescue spread quickly through Council space. More reports followed of human ships appearing at Devourer attacks, evacuating civilians, destroying the ancient machines, and disappearing again. But when Council representatives tried to make contact, the humans refused to respond to official communications. The breakthrough came when Dr. Kethvar was studying refugee testimonies from the attacks. A Velcori merchant named Prendal had been rescued from a transport ship and claimed he had actually spoken with the human rescuers. "They took us aboard their ship," Prendal explained to the interview panel. "But it was not like any ship I have seen. The walls seemed to be made of light, and there was no gravity system. People just floated naturally. The humans wore no environmental suits, but they moved like they were swimming through space itself." "What did they tell you about where they have been?" Dr. Kethvar asked. Prendal's tentacles writhed nervously. "They said they found a new home. Not just new worlds, but a new galaxy entirely. They have been building something there for 5 years. Cities that orbit stars, ships as large as moons, and children who grow up learning to shape matter with their minds." The most shocking testimony came from a young Crothri engineer named Zektin. Her transport had been caught in a Devourer attack near the Nexus system. When human rescuers brought her aboard their ship, she had asked the captain why they were helping aliens who had cast them out. "The human captain was named Admiral Choi Minho," Zektin reported. "He said something I will never forget. 'You made your choice when you forced us to leave. We made our choice when we decided to leave completely. But we don't abandon innocence, regardless of what their governments do.'" The Council leadership struggled to understand what humanity had become. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body flickered between colors as he tried to process the reports. "They claim to have moved to another galaxy? That is impossible. Even our most advanced technology cannot create stable wormholes across such distances." But the evidence kept mounting. Human ships appeared at every major Devourer attack, but they only evacuated civilians. When Council military forces requested assistance, the humans ignored them completely. Several times, Council admirals watched helplessly as human vessels destroyed entire Devourer fleets that had defeated their own forces, then left without offering any cooperation. The most humiliating incident occurred when Hegemony's Grand Admiral Torgesh tried to force a conversation with a human rescue fleet. He positioned his remaining ships to block the human vessels from leaving after they had destroyed a Devourer attack force. "Human ships, you will respond to official Council communications or face the consequences," Torgesh announced. The lead human ship, barely half the size of Torgesh's flagship, responded with a transmission that was broadcast on all frequencies throughout the sector. "Grand Admiral, you have 30 seconds to move your ships before we consider you a threat to civilian evacuation operations." "You dare threaten Hegemony?" Torgesh roared back. "We demand answers about your new technology and your current location. The Council has rights to this information." "The Council had rights," came the calm reply. "You gave them up when you decided we were too dangerous to remain free. Your 30 seconds are up." The human ship simply passed through Torgesh's flagship as if it were made of empty space. The massive Hegemony vessel suffered no damage, but every system on board shut down for exactly 1 minute. When power returned, the human ships were gone. Later analysis showed that the humans had somehow shifted their vessels into a different dimension, passed through the solid matter of the Council ships, then shifted back to normal space on the other side. The technology required for such an action was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. That night, Torgesh sent a private message to his government. The humans are not the same species that left us 3 years ago. They have become something we cannot understand or control. Perhaps it is time to reconsider our position. But by then, it was already too late. Humanity had moved far beyond the reach of galactic politics. 5 years after humanity departed the Galactic Council, young Kiratel pressed her face against the window of her family's shelter on the frontier world of Haven 3. The 8-year-old Valkyrie had never seen the mysterious human ships that the adults whispered about, but today strange silver vessels hung in the sky above her village. "Mama, what are those?" she asked, her small tentacles curling with curiosity. Her mother, Chantel, pulled her daughter away from the window with nervous movements. "Humans, little one. They come when there is danger." The danger had arrived 3 hours ago in the form of devourer scouts. The ancient machines had detected the small farming community and were slowly approaching to consume everything in their path. Haven 3 had no military protection. It was too far from council space and too poor to afford private security. The local governor had sent desperate messages to the council, begging for help. The response was always the same. Emergency response teams will arrive within 72 hours. By then, there would be nothing left to save. But the humans had come instead. Sergeant Han Bore stood in the village square, her environmental suit gleaming silver in the afternoon sun. Around her, 30 human soldiers worked with calm efficiency, setting up evacuation portals that shimmered like mirrors made of light. "Everyone stays calm," Han Bore announced through her translator. "We will have you all off-world within the hour. Take only essential belongings. Your safety is more important than possessions." Village Chief Grontal, an elderly hegemony citizen, approached the human sergeant with confusion written across his bark-like features. "Why do you help us? Our government voted to expel your people from the galaxy." Han Bore's helmet retracted, revealing a young face with kind but tired eyes. "Because someone should help. And we learned long ago that if you want something done right, you do it yourself. But surely you want something in return?" Grontal pressed. "Trade agreements? Territory rights? Information about council defenses. We want nothing from your governments," Han Bore replied as she helped an injured civilian through the evacuation portal. "We help because it's the right thing to do. That's enough." Little Kiratel watched in amazement as the humans moved through her village. They carried elderly citizens who couldn't walk. They found lost pets and made sure families stayed together. When her neighbor's house caught fire from a falling piece of devoured debris, 2 humans ran inside and carried out the family's most precious belongings. "They're not scary like the stories say," Kiratel whispered to her mother. "The stories have become legends throughout council space. Humans who could walk through walls. Ships that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets without leaving any trace of how they worked." The council leaders spoke of humanity with fear and confusion, unable to understand what their former members had become. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Vextar sat in his private chamber, studying reports that made no sense. The humans now operated a network of rescue operations that covered half the galaxy, but they refused all contact with official governments. Pirates had stopped attacking civilian ships entirely after several criminal fleets simply vanished without explanation. Devourer attacks were contained within hours instead of spreading for weeks. "They have become the police force we accused them of wanting to be," he admitted to Zaid. But now they answer to no one. The aide, a young Zephyrian whose crystals flickered with nervous energy, presented the latest intelligence report. "Our analysis suggests they operate from an entirely different galaxy. They have built structures there that dwarf our largest space stations, some of the size of solar systems." "Impossible," Vextar replied, but his certainty was gone. How could they accomplish such things in only 5 years? "Perhaps," the aide suggested carefully, "they were always capable of more than we realized. We may have been mistaken about their true nature." The truth was becoming clear throughout the galaxy. Species that had celebrated humanity's departure now quietly established back-channel communications with the Terran Commonwealth. Trade agreements that bypass council oversight. Defense pacts that offer protection from devourers and pirates alike. cultural exchange programs that sent young aliens to study in human schools in the far galaxy. The Velkhori had been among the first to break ranks. After human forces saved 3 of their major colonies from Devourer attacks, they officially withdrew from the Council and signed a mutual assistance treaty with humanity. The Crothri followed within weeks. Even some hegemony systems began declaring independence to join the growing network of human-protected worlds. As the last civilians evacuated through the portal on Haven 3, Kiratel tugged on Sergeant Han Bore's equipment belt. The human soldier knelt down to the child's eye level. "Will we see you again?" Kiratel asked in her small voice. Han Bore smiled and gently touched one of the child's tentacles. "Whenever you need help, we'll be there. That's a promise." "But how will you know when we need help?" "We'll know," Han Bore said simply. "We're always watching." The evacuation portal closed just as the Devourer machines reached the village. But the ancient enemies found nothing to consume except empty buildings and automated systems. The humans had saved every life without firing a single shot. On Earth's moon, a memorial plaque caught the light of the rising sun. The words were simple but carried the weight of galactic transformation. Here, humanity learned to reach for the stars. Here they learned the stars were just the beginning. The universe had changed forever, and humanity had shown that sometimes the greatest victory was simply walking away and becoming something better than your enemies ever imagined possible.